Famous for its trophy-sized largemouths, Florida's Lake Toho is the battleground for this week's big Kmart Bassmaster Top 150. Over 150 pros and their amateur partners will compete for over $400,000 in cash and prizes. We'll see how top rookies Tim Horton and Mike Iaconelli fare against top veterans like Kevin Van Dam, Terry Baxay, and Bassmaster TV co-host Shaw Grigsby. We're at the midway point of the $6 million Bassmaster Tournament Trail here on TNN Outdoors.
Now back to me in the studio.
Fishburne, and this is my co-host Shaw. Yes, he can still catch fish with the best of them, Grigsby.
Thanks, Fish. Lake Toho is the northernmost lake in the Kissimmee chain of lakes, which includes Toho, Cypress, Hatchnahaw, and Kissimmee. The lakes are connected by canals, and the anglers have the opportunity to fish all 4 lakes during the tournament. Now, it's the middle of January, which most people think is wintertime, but in Florida, that's really the start of spring.
So you may be saying that there's some spawning fish here.
Well, there's some fish on the beds. There's fish that are staging and coming in a little further out. So, of course, you know me. I like targeting the shallow fish and the fish I can see, so that's what I'm going to go after.
Well, target them you did, Shaw. As a matter of fact, you had a 2-pounder, which was the small fish, a 6-pounder, a 7-pounder, an 8-pounder, and 1 over 9 pounds. Total weight, 32 pounds and 8 ounces. And Shaw, for a 5-fish limit, it's the 3rd largest string in bass history.
You know, what can I say, Fish? It was just one of those days. The Lord really blessed me. But I was hoping to go out and catch, you know, a decent limit of fish with hopefully a kicker. I never dreamed that this would happen.
Well, that gave you the lead in a big, big way. Now, Russ Bringer was in second after day 1 with what would normally have been a very respectable 17 pounds, 1 ounce. Then sensational rookie Timmy Horton was 6 ounces behind Bringer, followed by Connecticut's Terry Baxay and Jeff Barnes, who had a big, giant 10-pound, 15-ounce bass for day 1. We'll be right back in a moment with day 2 action and see if anybody can make a dent in this guy's 15-pound lead.
The Bassmasters is brought to you by Mercury, Berkeley, Pennzoil Marine, Plano, Kmart, and Garmin.
You know, yesterday was just a spectacular day. It only comes around once or twice in your lifetime where you catch a stringer like that. And I hadn't planned on it. I found one big fish, found her back on Sunday, actually, and didn't think she would hang around, but actually, you know, they were spawning and she stayed. So it was pretty special to pull up and then catch that one, and that was a 9-pounder. And then the rest of the day just kind of happened. I caught a 7-pounder just casting in a hole in a hydrilla, and I caught a 6-pounder flipping a mat, and then I came back into Toho. Now that I got a big sack of fish, I came back into Toho here and started fishing in here and ran across another one that was almost 9 pounds. So those days are real special. You remember every one of them.
Shaw, there was a major fog delay on day 2.
There sure was, Fish. We were socked in, and I was really anxious to get back out there because my fish were shallow, and we were expecting a severe cold front on Thursday night. I felt like I needed to catch another decent limit, not necessarily 32 pounds, but 12 to 14-pound stringer to really have a chance because that cold front would virtually eliminate the shallow fish, and I really didn't have anything else working.
Well, Terry Baxay's in the 4th spot after day 1, and he's fishing a large flat covered in hydrilla.
Bait-wise, I'm fishing a floating rapella, and which I've doctored a little bit to make it rise up kind of head first, which tangles the line really nicely. And I'm fishing on an 8-pound test on a spinning rod just to get a little bit longer cast. And that fish there hit on a very long pause, which is how I've been catching them, because they don't seem to be as active as they need to be. What we have here is a big flat, and there's hydrilla coming to about 2 to 3 feet below the surface. And the bait, if I use a different type of jerk bait, it'll go down too much into the grass. and I'm trying to stay above that, and the fish are kind of roaming in around the whole area there, and every now and then one will come out and eat it.
Terry's a great fisherman, but I tell you, Fish, you got me worried about Timmy Hortons. Timmy's having just an incredible year. He finished 6th in his first ever Top 150 event earlier this year, and then won the Maryland Top 150. He was leading angler of the year going into this tournament. You need to keep an eye on him because he's going to be a good one.
Let's check out some of Day 2's action.
Doggone it, twice in a row? I hit him again. Now that time I caught a piece of him. You know, I guess my partner could have had a net, but it's all right. That's a pretty nice fish now. But, yeah, I lost him. Oh, look at that. He took my tail. That sorry little critter. There he is. Oh, I got him again. Hello. That's a nice little fish, too. A stud! Net. Wait a minute, I got him. He's coming around. Oh, he's around the trolling motor. Yeah.
Out over this scattered grass on these deeper flats, I've been fishing with a crankbait. When we found the fish, I was with my dad, and we were both throwing a Strike King Series 5 crankbait because we're fishing in about 8 foot of water, and with this heavy grass, I want to throw it on a little heavier line. That bait runs about 10 feet deep with 10-pound line, so we've got it upsized to 14-pound test, and that way we can really rip it through the grass and keep the crankbait clear, because the grass is growing all the way to the top, and those fish seem to be in the shade down underneath it. So I want a little heavier line with a bait that'll still get down to the fish. There's one. There's a whole bunch with them, too. Throw that other buoy. Just don't worry about that. Look at that big one with him. God. Yeah, there was a 4-pounder swimming with this one. When I was out here in practice in this area with my dad, he caught 2 in almost a couple of casts on a windy day through here, and I saved the coordinates on my Global Map 160. And I am within 25 yards of the exact spot where my dad caught those fish. A good one. Came across a really good clump out here and caught a fish on a crankbait off the point of it, and now I just picked up a worm and started throwing it around the edge and caught that one. He was maybe a 2-pounder or so, and I got to throw away one that was just a little over a pound. So I gained almost a pound there. But I saw a 4-pounder with the first fish that I caught on the crankbait. So I know there's a good school here hanging around this clump, and it's just a matter of getting them to bite. It's really tough when it's slick and flat like this.
You're Kevin Van Dam, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, Fish, how's it going?
Just fine, Kevin. You've blasted them today. I think this could be the big string of the day. Let's watch his weight. 13 pounds, 9 ounces for Van Dam. 13.9. Let's watch the weight. Chad Brower scales. Boom! 17 pounds, 14 ounces. 17-14. Chad, reach in there and grab that big one. He has got one giant bass. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the size of that. Oh!
This is what I thought I'd catch, and actually it's a little better than what I thought I'd catch every day. I figured I'd catch 8 to 10 pounds.
Weight 10 pounds, 2 ounces, 10-2 for you, Shaw. And Shaw, the Bassmaster camera crew's right here. Should we go back to the studio?
Back to you, Fish.
Thank you, Shaw. Looking at the Day 2 standings, Chad Brower's big bag moves him from the 20th spot all the way to 2nd. Kevin Van Dam moves up to 3rd. Terry Baxay holds on to the 4th spot, and Vermont Top 150 winner Michael Iaconelli takes the 5th spot. Coming up next, we'll see how Shaw and the rest of the field deal with a cold front that drops the temperatures more than 20 degrees.
Here we are, day 3, and it's blowing about 30. You know, they said 25, but pretty much about knocked me off the deck, and that pretty much about knocks my fishing out, because what I'm doing is just precision casting and hitting the little holes, and it's almost impossible. I've got a heavy weight on, and I still can't even keep the bait down on the bottom. So there's there's a lot of problems with wind and trying to do what I do, shallow sight fishing. Anything will help right now. I don't have enough to win if I zero. I have to catch another, 8 to 10 pounds today and hope they catch some tomorrow also. Yep. Thank you, sir. That's one of my 5. Get him. No! Oh, he's still on. Good. Woo! I thought he'd come off and gone over the other side of the boat, and I'd lost him, and here he is. That's 2. Thank you, Lord. That's number 3.
Watch us weight 11 pounds and 6 ounces. Bait will reach in there and grab moo-mow. Ladies and gentlemen, watch this. Big fish so far of the day. Woo! Basil, what do you think he's going to weigh?
He'll crowd 6, I think.
About a 6-pounder. Now, is that a male or a female fish?
I don't know.
All right, well, how do you know?
Here, you check it.
Woo! Hey, watch the scales. He's got 12 pounds, 7 ounces, 12.7. Kyle, reach in there and grab the big one. That just moved you into the top 10 for sure. Woo! There's a big Toho bass right there. And what'd you get that fish on?
I'll tell you tomorrow.
I thought you might. Kevin, what place were you coming into today?
I was in 3rd, but, it was a pretty tough day out there.
He's in 3rd place. Let's watch the scales. Weight for Van Dam, 9 pounds, 14 ounces, 9.14. All right, he's got a 17-pound lead. He's got 4 bass today. Weight, 6 pounds, 11 ounces, 6.11. That's going to do it, Shaw. That's going to keep you right up there. No big ones in there. That's going to hold you in the top 10.
Day 3 is huge, obviously because only the top 10 fishermen advanced to the championship round on Saturday. And Shaw, this was really an impressive group of top 10 guys.
You're not kidding, Fish. I mean, look at this leaderboard. Woo Daves, Basil Bacon, some of the great pros that have been around as long as I can remember. And, of course, Denny Brower, Skeet Reese, Mike Iaconelli, Terry Baxay, Denny's son Chad, Kyle Green, and man, what a great tournament he was having. And then Kevin Van Dam, the guy you least want right behind you when you're leading. And then I'm just hanging on with 4 fish that go a little over 6.5 pounds.
We'll get to the final day in just a minute, but right now, Shaw, it's time for us to introduce our viewers to the newest addition to the show. It's the Answer Line, a chance for our viewers to ask the Bass Tournament pros any question they may have.
This week's letter is from Eldon Crabtree, Newcastle, Indiana. Now, Eldon's question is, pros seem to be using heavy line, 17-pound test or more, for most of their fishing. What's the real secret to matching the line size to the lures and conditions I'm fishing? And we're going to send that question to Gary Klein.
Eldon, that's a really good question about heavy line. As an angler, I'm a competitor, and I try to push my equipment to the limit. In other words, I try to be as efficient as I can when I'm on the water, and heavy line allows me to do that. I break off less fish. I have to retie my lures very rarely during the course of the day. So a heavy line is an advantage. 17's a little light. I like to fish 25, 30, and 40 almost exclusively.
If you've got a question you'd like to ask the pros, just jot it down on a piece of paper and send it to Bassmaster's Answer Line, Bass Incorporated, P.O. Box 17055, Montgomery, Alabama 36141. And be sure to include your name, address, and phone number.
All letters, whether we use your question or not, will go into a drawing for an all-expenses-paid trip to the 2001 Bassmaster Classic, courtesy of Bass.
And you know, Shaw, our viewers that belong to Bass are the only ones that receive Bassmaster magazine. It's the best resource for a bass angler at any level.
That's right. You know, I've been fishing professionally for 16 years, and I still read it. Stay tuned during this break, and I'll show you how easy it is to join.
The Bassmasters is brought to you by Kumo, Ranger Boats, Chevy Trucks, Bass Pro Shops, and the Bass Angler Sportsman Society.
Got out here this morning and I was a little apprehensive because the water temperature has dropped a whole bunch. It's dropped about 5-6 degrees. And I was nervous they weren't going to bite the jerk bait or the Carolina rig I've been catching some fish on. And in less than an hour I had 4 fish. and they were pretty active. So I don't really know if the fish have moved out to the end of this hydrilla point. There's an underwater hydrilla point, kind of comes to a bare spot here, and I don't know if that's the deal, if they're just moved out to this point from the rest of the grass where I've been catching them, or if they're just actively eating. So I had 4 pretty quick, but they've slowed down a little bit now, and it's going to make me throw my Carolina rig, I guess, or throw a worm, or backlash, which you can do in the wind.
It's kind of nice to be in the lead by almost 12 pounds going into this final day. In the state of Florida, boy, anytime somebody can catch one of those monster strings, and that's what makes it really exciting fishing down here. However, you know, most of the tournaments that I've won, I've only been in the lead by a pound or ounces or something like that. So. Got him. Fish. Come on, baby. Oh, this feels like a pretty good one, too. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Ah, I like it. It's a great net, isn't it? Look at this net. Grab him, drop it, I can reel, grab it back up, and I'm done. And I like it. First fish of the day, and it's a good one. A hummer. I think I'll just bring that one on board. And you drop a big one in like this, little guy. Let me see if I can get hold of my line. You execute, you know what you're doing, you catch a fish. That's what does it. Number 3. Come on, that's a keeper. He's gone.
Shaw, tell me what's going through your head right now.
Well, I knew I only had about 4 pounds in the live well, which means Kevin would need about 16 pounds to overtake me. But I'm parked right next to Mike Iaconelli, and he pulls this huge fish out. It looked to be 7 pounds or so, and I'm going, goodness gracious, if he has any more fish in there, I could be in big trouble. So I was really worried.
Well, let's take a look at this weigh-in.
6. Here we go. Let's put them on the scales and get them back alive. Weight, 8 pounds and 7 ounces. 8.7 for you, Kyle. Great catch. Congratulations. Watch his weight. 15 pounds, 1 ounce. Great catch, Basil. Woo! Look at those giants. Right there, 15 pounds and 1 ounce of bass, and 5 right there for Basil. His biggest, 14 pounds and 3 ounces. 14, 3 round of applause. Man, what a catch. Woo! Watch this bass right here in his left hand. Wait for him. 5 pounds and 9 ounces. 5'9", Kevin. Really got 3 bass. And what kind of weight is he going to need?
13 pounds.
He's going to need 13 pounds to take the lead. 4 pounds, 6 ounces, Shaw. 4-6.
He doesn't need anything.
He made it up. He just won the tournament. Shaw Brooksy. You've won a check right here for $74,000 in cash and a fully rigged Ranger bass boat.
This was a strange feeling to be in the lead the whole time, and I'd never been like that before, so it was definitely different.
So my partner here, Shaw, holds on and wins his 7th bass event and a check for $74,000, plus a fully rigged Ranger boat valued at $26,000. Iaconelli takes the 2nd spot with the biggest stringer of the day and takes home $39,000. He's followed by Kyle Green, Kevin Van Dam, and Basil Bacon. Shaw, I knew if you won this tournament, it was really going to be strange doing the show.
Well, I hope we do a lot of them like this fish.
Well, I bet you do at $100,000 a pop. I'll tell you what, Shaw, it's time now for the Kumo Pro Pointers. And did you give us some good advice?
You bet, absolutely. It's what made the difference for me in this tournament.
Let's take a look.
One of the little tips I used to win the tournament this week is putting a noise maker, meaning a rattle, inside my baits. So what I'm doing is taking the 2 primary baits I used was a plastic worm and a lizard, both the Lucky Strike and Forster series, and I take a rattle. And it doesn't matter if it's glass or plastic. This one's plastic, it's a Woody's rattle. And instead of just sticking it somewhere in the body, I'd take it and stick it straight in the head. So I'd push it straight down, right in the head of the bait, all the way. And it didn't matter if I was flipping, I was pitching, or I'm casting, I bury the rattle inside. And now it works, it's in contact with everything. I'd hook it up, and every one of my fish came on a 4/0 high-performance hook. So I'd hook it on, follow in where you put the rattle, and now the hook actually holds your rattle in. keeps it in there to where you can make a lot of noise and they can find the bait down in that grass, which is a secret to catching fish down here. You got tannic acid, a lot of grass, a lot of vegetation. The bass get down in the grass. If you have any type of noise-making device on your bait, they can hear it. So they locate it, they find it, they're very curious, and you'll catch a lot of fish.
Shaw, that's a pretty neat tip, but tell us a little bit more about the enforcer baits that you use to win the tournament.
Well, I tell you, Fish, they come from the factory injected with taste, scent, and they have wonderful clear colors. So, you know, it's a complete package when you add in the rattle. So here we have it. It's a lizard, and it's bulky. The fish love it, especially in springtime.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever seen one of these?
No, what in the world is it?
That's exactly what it is. It's an it. And Ike Anelli finished second using this. It's a prototype bait that Mans will be releasing later this year. It's pretty weird.
Absolutely, but it worked for him.
Well, Shaw, we're out of time.
That's too bad, because I like doing these shows.
Yeah, I bet you do. And don't rub it in anymore. For my co-host and Florida Top 150 champ, Shaw Grigsby, I'm Fish Fishburne, and you've been watching the Bassmaster.
Lightning struck you. This rod, ladies and gentlemen, has been hit on lightning. That's the graphite that's left from the rod tips that are right there. Watch the weight today. 18 pounds, 9 ounces, 18.9. That's a keeper. Woo! That fish is so big it's stupid. Look at him.